I think in this next chapter or so, it's safe to assume that we're going to be opening up to new information, to new arcs kind of stuff. We're probably going to be starting to actually have Celine tell us about Viernes, see what's going on with him, why is he so extra special. What about Viernes's lore and story is something that is, relevant to why he's extra hidden even amongst the dragon gods, to the point where Mars Phobia's never even met him. And I still think that is important to what we're going to be actually getting with him eventually. Whenever we get his character actually fully revealed, and, why is he X, Y, or Z like this? Why is whatever reason that he is so secretive the way he is, and whatnot. It's one of those things that we don't know as of right now. Is it a small, just kind of character bit? Is it important to the story? Is he going to, is there going to be some form of big way that ties into what we find out about him? Either way, I think that it's just going to, at the moment, be a teaser. With all the stuff around Alchemy and Gold Owl, I feel like if it's not him as the Guildmaster, if Viernes is not the Guildmaster, I would like to believe, at least, that he should be relevant somehow to the Guild and the Guildmaster. Like, one of the theories I had was, if he's not, let's say he's not, in charge of the Guild, he's not the Guildmaster, maybe whoever the Guildmaster is essentially like a dragon slayer to him, like his human contact, and it's because of these two and their connection that Gold Owl is able to get to where it is, and why Alchemy is at the stage that it's at through, maybe like advancement through ancient dragon knowledge or something like that. There's stuff in there that can really connect and make a lot of sense. I personally think that Viernes would be even more interesting if, on top of obviously dragon god stuff and being able to use magic, if he also used alchemy, because I really like the idea if alchemy by itself obviously wasn't the best, but through ancient dragon knowledge and secrets and power, that it was able to reach a level that was thought prior to be impossible. And I think that would be really cool if, the alchemists and Gold Owl, they're only as powerful as they are because they pretty much got a lot of information and cheats from this other powerful alchemist being, essentially like a dragon that could take alchemy and evolve it into a much more refined and capable state. That maybe that's what we're seeing now. And it doesn't have to be like, in the last 5 years, obviously centuries with Viernes has been a thing, so maybe it could be like, over the last 10, 20 years or whatever, that alchemy is starting to really kind of get somewhere. Because I think that would make a lot of sense too, is if, similar to how Celine was using, trying to use humans for her goals, if Viernes did it for another reasoning. Like, what if he's like, I decided to extend my research and knowledge through these humans as to pretty much make it so I would go undetected and people wouldn't be able to find out where I am. Obviously, like being on the run from Acnologia, you could play that into why exactly he's not doing X, Y, or Z, or why he is doing X, Y, or Z in context to it, helping out, helping out others, which is reality, helping out himself while trying not to get murdered by this crazy dragon wizard genocide machine, pretty much. And it's a little difficult, really, to kind of gauge the chapter in 100%, just because, the way that the last chapter ended, it was one of those ones where we have just a full, pretty much, wrap-up. We didn't end on anything, and usually when Mishima ends on stuff like that, it's an indicator that we're going to be opening up on some new stuff. And I feel like with that, the stuff around Viernes, stuff around Goldo, unless we're going to take a detour with Rebellious, I would imagine we're going to be, again, seeing what's going on with this Alchemy Guild. And there's a lot of stuff coming up that I think is very interesting for the characters of the main cast. Like, obviously, Godjil's got a rematch fight set up with God Serena. The interactions and results of that, very much looking forward to, just because it was a very weird one. I didn't go into Alvarez thinking God Serena and Godjo would eventually have like a grudge match kind of scenario going on. I had other plans for God Serena, but I didn't expect this. I just like the odd nature of it. It'd be like if all of a sudden Gray teamed up with Invul. Or even, obviously Stranger, it's like, oh yeah, Jacob and Agil or something. It's just this really weird character group that you're just like, okay, cool, let's see where this goes. And for now, I mean, like, in general, everything around where we're at, character-wise, like, not for, like, the main cast character-wise, but really, like, where the main cast could interact with character-wise. Like, the members of Diablos, the fact that everybody in the 7 of the main cast that was, in the Dogre Labyrinth has a Diablos counterpart. Not like, obviously, like their Fairy Tale and Edelus groups or even Fairy Nail. It's just they have some form of opposing member of Diablos, obviously, that their character is kind of set for. The only ones that we haven't seen really touched on, obviously, in a while are Scoleon, Grey, Mad Mole, and Godjill, sort of, because like I figured those two would be more of a pair, but we didn't get that, at least as of yet. Maybe they're going to train, and that's going to be the thing, because Mishima did line them all up pretty much in a row with each other when they were having their dinner. So I imagine that maybe he still has that in mind, and maybe Godjill is going to train with Mad Mole. And I think that'd be really cool, because if instead of it's not going to be like an actual protagonist versus an antagonist fight, but it's essentially two protagonists fighting and more of like a training skirmish, we could have, here's Godjill able to now adapt and figure out ways to advance his metal and the density of his metal through fighting Mad Mole, who obviously, as the Armored Dragon Slayer, is supposed to be bolstered upon his defenses. Like I said, the next chapter is looking good. I don't expect it to be anything insane. I'm kind of hoping that it's one of those ones where we kind of like, okay, we're going to get a little bit of fun, kind of like the characters enjoying themselves. Maybe they're having just a couple jokes, but we know that there's some plot stuff moving, and maybe it's like at the very end of the chapter, they're like, hey, we got to talk about this. And that's one of those like, yeah, the last 2.5, 3 pages give us some hype setup and lore for, the rest of the upcoming bit of exposition and lore. And I think that's going to be obviously like a big thing, where it should be now, because the hardness of Viernes' character is he's a complete mystery to the readers at the moment. It's not like Igni where we have some information, but with Viernes, it's like we were intentionally left further in the dark. So we got to wait to see exactly what his plan is with him, what Mishima exactly has going on with him. But again, I'm hoping that we get something in the next chapter or so, because I assume that Selene can tell us stuff about Viernes, and now Selene isn't going to die. So it's like, okay, well, what's Selene going to do in this arc? I really would like the idea of it's like we go into the next arc, and there are adversaries, obviously, for the main cast and everybody to fight. But Selene and Viernes, like, imagine this. It's kind of like Ignia and Selene, but it happens at almost the beginning of the arc. And instead of it being like, obviously, Selene is attacked off guard, and she's got to, struggle to survive with everything going on with Ignia. But instead, it's like Viernes and Selene get in a fight, and it's like the entire arc, every once in a while, we just peer in the background, and we just see these two titans clashing. Like, maybe not like once the arc starts, but once combat and like battles go. But it's less of Selene and Ignia, where they just went ham at each other, and it's like it could be more cautious. Because I feel like Selene, after that event, would be, trying to fight a little bit more cautiously, stay more on guard, obviously don't get distracted and get shot in the chest. You only got the one Irene fix, so it's just like, well, she's got Wendy, but it's like, Wendy, I feel like that's just such a jump for Wendy to do, like, maybe by the end of the story if Selene gets hurt again, or somebody else that needs the whole Dragon Wound concept moved. But, I really like the idea of it's like, because Viernes as well, because he's supposed to, if he's extra cautious if his character's gonna be like that. Maybe it's like, you have these two characters who are playing more on the back burner, where they're trying for stuff, but they're more looking for openings and weaknesses in their opponent. To where neither of them are just kind of going forehead in, just ready to attack, but it's like they are being more tactical, strategical, and trying to figure out what the best point is to attack their enemy are. I think that'd be really cool, and then it's just like every once in a while we see what they're doing. We see a couple attacks, maybe a couple of abilities, maybe they drop some lore and some dialogue. But I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like it's hard to say because we don't know anything about Viernes. Like, people point out like Viernes could be a girl. Like, we could just get a reveal that Viernes is another girl dragon god, but I don't think so. I feel like Viernes is a dude. This is my guess. I feel like Mishima's put so much effort into Selene, and Selene being the only girl would make sense for that. But beyond that, I just easily foresee, like overall, I just foresee one of those chapters where it's like, out of whatever 19 pages, 15 or so of those are mostly fun, mostly enjoyable. We did get a chunk of that already, so maybe we'll get a little less, and we'll start, focusing more on opening up the arc and opening up on events that are about to happen. But the main thing for me is I'm hoping that just like Celine is like, hey, let me tell you about this dude Viernes. Because Ignia, it's very clear Ignia's is going to be the last one. I feel like it'd be really weird to go to Ignia then Viernes, because then it's like Viernes has to live up to that. And there's a lot of personal emotional weight tied to Ignia because of Natsu. But again, that's something that we're going to have to wait and see. We're, about halfway between the chapters. We've got the next one coming out, a week from tomorrow? 122? Yeah, 122. So we'll see. I'm just hoping overall, I think primarily I'm hoping that we just don't get a chapter where nothing has really progressed. I don't think so. We haven't really had anything like those chapters since like Fairy Nail, where the chapters are just goofy. Even now, like when we get like a chapter that's like, 99% funny and kind of like cool down and slice of lifey, where the characters are they just went through whatever events of the last arc and they want to chill and relax and heal and just have a good time. And then, like, last page or two, similar to what happened when Ferris did the whole thing about the moon eating Elantir and stuff. Something like that, where it's, the last 2 pages, Celine's like, I want to talk to you guys about Viernes and tell you about, like, why he's a problem, or tell you why we need to strategize. I think that would make a lot of sense, too, because it'd be really cool if it's like, if she's like, with Ignia, we can go fight him. It's still a difficult situation, and obviously he's a threat, but approaching him is easier than approaching Viernes. Like, imagine something like, it's really quick, this is probably this last thing I just want to mention. It's one of the things I liked about Nero and Eden Zero. I wish that they put more effort onto. Mishima put more effort towards Shura, which I'm not mad about. I like Shura, I thought it was cool. But I really like the idea where it's like you had Drac and Joe, and Drac and Joe is powerful not just because of power levels, but also because of all the connections and stuff he had, all the people he knew that owed him favors, and all the just different areas that his influence reached out to. Whereas with Nero, I was like, well, his is like maybe his military size and stuff, where it's like, well, he's not as powerful as Drac and Joe, like in the idea, but it's like if you were to try and get Drac and Joe, it'd be hard to sneak up on him, plus you don't know what allies he's got at the ready. Whereas I feel like if it was Nero, you have to go through pretty much all of his cosmos to get to him and deal with his forces. I really think it's like, Viernes, he isn't, again, as much of a direct threat as Ignia because of the way his nature is and his personality, but it's difficult to even try and approach him because maybe he's so paranoid and crazy or something. And because of that, he's more of a difficulty fighter, where it's like, he's powerful, but he's got all these like crazy abilities and like things that have 1 or 2 tricks, but those 1 or 2 tricks are really gonna fuck up your team. Like even just like, he uses an ability that makes it so because one of the things that I mentioned, I keep saying it's gonna be the end, is like because the gold doesn't age. Sometimes gold has time powers in some fictions. It's like, it made it so if you don't try and do this thing twice, you will slow down, or like something of weird hacks that would just be like reading it, you're just like, God damn it! Like just coming near this guy is gonna be a hassle, pretty much. Just trying to set the fight up is difficult. Maybe we can see about something like that. Maybe it's like a cool base too, and it's just like everything around him is just fortified. And I think that makes it really cool. It's like they have to sneak in, and it's like they could try and rush and try and fight him, but doing so would make it almost impossible to realistically get to him because of like just all these like safety protocols and like barriers and tripwires and just like all these things that he has set up to be like, if people come for me, I'm ready. Like either I'm gonna fight or I'm ready to just bow out and get out of here. We'll see. Like I said, Viernes is a weird case. He's the one that Mishima's kept extra secret, and I'm guessing there's going to be a reason for that, but we'll see. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, before the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But that, appreciate you guys subscribing, and thank you all for listening. Bye.